The two sons of Morai shone brightly on the annual harvest festival. Colors filled the air as banners waved in the gentle breeze. The sweet smell of food mixed with the earthy scent of fresh crops. Everywhere, blue-skinned Moraians laughed and talked. Children ran between stalls, playing games and eating sweets. Neri stood at her family's fruit stand, bored. She was 17 years old with blue skin that sparkled in the sunlight. Her silver-flecked eyes kept looking toward the sky instead of at the customers. "Neri, please focus," her mother said, handing her a basket of star fruits. "We have many customers today." Neri sighed. "I've been standing here for hours. Can I take a short break?" Her mother looked at the long line of people waiting to buy their famous fruit. "Just a short one. Be back before the sun reaches the middle of the sky." Neri smiled and quickly walked away before her mother could change her mind. She moved through the crowds, dodging children and elders alike. This year's festival was bigger than ever before, and for the first time, aliens from another world were visiting. The Graks were tall reptile-like beings with scaly green skin. They stood much taller than the average Moraian and had sharp teeth that showed when they talked. Most Moraians kept their distance from these visitors. There was something cold about their yellow eyes. Neri had heard her parents talking in worried voices about the Graks. They had come with a message: join our empire or face trouble. They called it an invitation, but everyone knew it was a threat. Still, the Council of Elders had decided to welcome the Graks to the festival. "We must show them our peaceful ways," the head elder had said. "Perhaps they will see we are better as friends than as subjects." Neri wasn't so sure. She had always been interested in the stars and the beings who lived among them. She read every book she could find about other worlds. The Graks matched the description of conquerors, not friends. As she walked away from the busy center of the festival, the crowds thinned. Neri enjoyed the quiet. Here, she could hear herself think. She followed a path lined with glowing plants that led toward the edge of the festival grounds. That's when she heard the voices. "The plan will work perfectly." The voice was rough and cold, not like the singing voices of her people. Neri stopped walking. She moved quietly toward the sound, stepping carefully so her feet didn't make noise on the soft ground. Behind a large purple tent used for the blessing ceremony, she saw them. 3 Graks stood in a tight circle. They were dressed in dark uniforms with symbols on their shoulders. Military uniforms, Neri realized. One of them held a small device that showed a glowing map of the festival. "Commander Dole, what about the planetary defense systems?" asked the shortest of the 3. The one called Commander Dole pointed at the map. He was the largest of the 3, with a jagged scar running down one side of his face. "We will take control of the main station here. Once we have control, the rest of the invasion fleet can land safely." Invasion fleet. Neri's heart beat faster. She leaned closer to hear better. "And the Moraians?" asked another Grak. Commander Dole made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it held no joy. "They will be too busy running and screaming to organize any defense. We strike at sunset when they gather for the final ceremony. Our forces are already in position around the planet." Neri's foot slipped, and she knocked a small stone. It rolled and hit a metal box with a small ping. All 3 Graks turned at once. Neri froze. For a moment, no one moved. Then Commander Dole's yellow eyes narrowed. "We have a listener," he hissed. Neri turned to run, her heart pounding in her chest. She had to warn the elders. She had to tell everyone about the planned attack. She made it 3 steps before a strong hand grabbed her arm. Claws dug into her soft blue skin, and she cried out in pain. "Look what we have here," Commander Dole said, pulling her back toward the other Graks. "A little spy." "I wasn't spying," Neri lied, trying to pull away. "I was just walking." "And now you've heard too much." The Grak's breath was hot against her face. It smelled like rotting meat. "Let me go." Neri kicked at him, but it was like kicking a stone wall. The commander turned to his soldiers. "We can't let her warn the others. Take her to the forest camp." We'll deal with her there. What about the plan? Asked one of the soldiers. Nothing changes. The attack still happens at sunset. We just need to keep this one quiet until then. He looked at Nari with cold eyes. And I think I know just how to do that. The Graks dragged Nari away from the festival, deeper into the forest that surrounded the celebration grounds. She tried to scream, but one of them covered her mouth with a scaly hand. No one can hear you out here, he told her. Save your breath. You'll need it. They walked for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes. The sounds of the festival faded, replaced by the quiet noises of the forest. Birds called to each other overhead. Small animals rustled in the underbrush. Finally, they reached a small clearing. More Graks were there, setting up what looked like a camp. In the center of the clearing was a sight that made Nari's blood run cold. A large pit had been dug in the ground and lined with stones. Inside, logs were stacked for a fire. Above the pit hung a metal frame with chains. "Commander, what's this?" asked one of the Graks already in the clearing. Commander Dole pushed Nari forward. "A small problem that needs solving. The little blue one here was listening to our plans." The other Grak looked at Nari with interest. "What should we do with her?" "Tie her up for now. She'll warn her people if we let her go." Two Graks grabbed Nari's arms and pulled her toward the pit. She struggled against them, but they were much stronger. "You won't get away with this," she shouted. "My people will fight back." Commander Dole watched as his soldiers chained Nari to the metal frame above the pit. "Your people are weak and trusting," he said. "By the time they realize what's happening, half your planet will be in flames." He took out a small device and struck it against the logs. A spark jumped from the device to the wood, and flames began to grow. "What are you doing?" Nari asked, fear making her voice shake. The commander's mouth stretched into what might have been a smile on a less terrifying face. "I've always wondered what Moraine tastes like. They say your flesh is quite delicate." Nari's eyes widened with horror as she understood. The pit wasn't just for warmth or cooking food. It was for cooking her. The flames grew higher, and she could feel the heat beginning to rise. Sweat formed on her blue skin. The Graks stepped back, watching with what looked like hunger in their yellow eyes. "You can't do this," Nari shouted. "This is wrong." "Wrong." Commander Dole laughed. "In the Grak Imperium, might makes right, and we are mightier than you." As the flames began to lick at the logs below her, Nari closed her eyes. The heat was already uncomfortable, and soon it would be unbearable. She thought of her parents, who would be looking for her now. They had no idea about the danger that threatened not just their daughter, but their entire world. Tears rolled down her cheeks, turning to steam in the rising heat. Was this really how it would end? Not just for her, but for her entire planet. The smoke rose around her, making it hard to breathe. The Graks watched, waiting for the fire to grow hotter, waiting to feast. Nari had always dreamed of meeting beings from other worlds. Now that dream had turned into a nightmare. The flames grew higher. Heat pushed against Nari's skin. Her throat burned from the smoke. The chains around her wrists and ankles were hot to the touch. She tried to pull away from the heat, but there was nowhere to go. "Is the fire hot enough yet?" asked one of the Graks. Commander Dole looked at the flames with hungry eyes. "Almost. I like my meat tender, not charred." The other Graks laughed. They stood in a circle around the pit, watching and waiting. Nari closed her eyes. She thought of her home, her parents, her friends. She thought of all the things she would never get to do. She would never see the stars up close like she had always dreamed. "Please," she whispered, "someone help me." But who would help her? No one knew where she was. Her people did not know about the Grak attack plan. By sunset, it would be too late for everyone. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the air. It was a humming noise, like nothing Nari had heard before. The Graks heard it too. They turned their heads, looking for the source. "What is that?" one of them asked. A flash of light appeared at the edge of the clearing. When it faded, A strange figure stood there. It was taller than a Morayan, but shorter than a Grak. It stood on two legs and was covered in some kind of hard shell that reflected the sunlight. Its head was round and smooth, with a clear front that showed a face inside. It was a face like Nari had seen in books, not blue like her people or scaly like the Graks. This was something else, something new, a human. "I suggest you step away from the girl," the human said. Its voice was deep and clear, made louder by its shell suit. The Graks all turned to face the newcomer. Commander Doll's eyes narrowed. "Human, what are you doing here?" he hissed. "Currently, considering whether to shoot first or ask questions later," the human replied. His hand held a strange device that glowed with blue light. Commander Doll made a signal with his hand. Two Graks reached for weapons at their sides. "This is none of your business, human," Commander Doll said. "Leave now, and you might live to see another day." The human took a step forward. "I'm making it my business. Now, one more time. Step away from the girl." Nari watched with wide eyes. Humans were real. She had read stories about them. They came from a planet called Earth, far across the stars. Some stories said they were great warriors. Other stories said they were peaceful explorers. Which kind was this one? Commander Dole's patience ran out. "Kill it," he ordered. Everything happened very fast after that. The Graks pulled out their weapons, long tubes that shot beams of hot light. They fired at the human, but he was already moving. He jumped to the side with speed that surprised even Nari. The human suit made a clicking sound, and suddenly he was moving even faster. He fired his own weapon. Blue light shot out and hit one Grak. Then another. They fell to the ground. Commander Doll roared in anger. He charged at the human like an angry beast. The human waited until the last second, then stepped aside. Commander Doll crashed into a tree with a loud crack. The remaining Graks looked at each other. They seemed unsure what to do. They had not expected this kind of fight. While the Graks were confused, the human ran toward the pit where Nari hung. The fire was getting hotter. Nari could feel her skin beginning to burn. "Hold on," the human called to her. He jumped over the flames. His suit must have protected him from the heat. He reached up and grabbed the chains that held Nari. With strength that seemed impossible, he pulled hard. The metal broke with a loud snap. Nari fell, but the human caught her before she hit the fire. He held her safely in his arms and jumped back, away from the flames. "Are you okay?" he asked, setting her gently on the ground. Nari could only nod. She was too shocked to speak. Commander Doll had recovered from hitting the tree. He saw the human's back turned and took his chance. He aimed his weapon and fired. But the human's suit made a beeping sound. He spun around just in time. The Grak's shot missed him by inches. The human fired back. His blue light hit Commander Doll in the chest. The Grak leader fell backward, green blood spreading across his uniform. The last two Graks looked at their fallen commander. Then they looked at the human. Without saying a word, they turned and ran into the forest. The human turned back to Nari. "Are you hurt?" Nari found her voice at last. "Just some burns. Nothing serious." She looked at the human with wonder. "Who are you? Why did you help me?" The human's face shield became clear, showing his face fully. He had dark hair and kind eyes. His skin was not blue like hers, but a light brown color. "My name is Chunho Kim. I'm a captain with the Earth Expeditionary Force." He looked at the fire pit with disgust. "I was scouting ahead of our diplomatic ship when I saw the smoke. I came to investigate. They were going to eat me," Nari said, her voice shaking. Chunho's face darkened with anger. "I've heard about the Graks, but I didn't know they were cannibals." "They're planning to attack my people," Nari said quickly. "At sunset, during the final ceremony. We have to warn everyone." Chunho nodded. "We will. But first, let's make sure you're safe." He looked at her burns. From a pocket in his suit, he took out a small tube. "This will help with the pain." He spread a cool gel on Nari's burns. The pain went away almost instantly. "Thank you," Nari said, "for saving me and for helping my people." Junho smiled. "That's what humans do. We help when we can." He looked at the fallen Grax. "We should move quickly. There might be more of them nearby." Junho helped Nari to her feet. She felt weak after hanging over the fire for so long, but she could walk. They started moving through the forest, back toward the festival. "How did you know to come here?" Nari asked as they walked. "I didn't," Junho admitted. "Earth has been monitoring Grak movement in this sector. We received reports they might be planning to expand into Morayan space. I was sent to check on the situation before our ambassador arrived." "Your ambassador is coming here?" "Yes. Earth wants to establish friendly relations with Morai. We believe in cooperation, not conquest." Nari looked at Junho with new respect. "The Grak said they only understand strength." Junho nodded. "They do. But there are different kinds of strength." He patted the weapon at his side. "This is one kind. But there's also strength in friendship, in helping others. That's the kind of strength humans value most." As they walked, Nari told Junho everything she had heard about the Grak invasion plan. He listened carefully, asking questions about the number of Graks she had seen and the locations they had mentioned. "This is valuable information," he said when she finished. "With your help, we might be able to stop their attack before it begins." "Do you think we can?" Nari asked. "The Graks have many ships and weapons." "So do we," Junho said with a small smile. "And we have something else they don't." "What's that?" "We have friends." He looked at Nari. "If your people will trust us, humans and Morayans can stand together against the Graks." For the first time since being captured, Nari felt hope. Maybe her planet would be safe after all. They reached the edge of the forest. In the distance, Nari could see the colorful banners of the festival. People were still celebrating, unaware of the danger that was coming at sunset. "We need to find the elders," Nari said. "They'll know what to do." Junho nodded. "Lead the way." Together, the blue-skinned Morayan girl and the human soldier walked toward the festival. Time was running out. The first sun was already starting to sink toward the horizon. Soon, it would be sunset. Nari and Junho reached the edge of the festival grounds. The celebration continued all around them. People laughed and danced. They had no idea of the danger that was coming. There, Nari pointed to a large tent in the center of the festival. "That's the council tent. The elders will be there." As they moved through the crowd, people stopped to stare. They had never seen a human before. Mothers pulled their children close. Men whispered to each other. No one tried to stop them, but Nari could feel their fear. "Don't worry," Nari called out to the worried faces. "He's a friend." When they reached the council tent, 2 guards stood at the entrance. They crossed their spears when they saw Junho. "Stop. Who are you? What is this creature?" One guard asked. "My name is Nari, daughter of Yun, the fruit seller," Nari said quickly. "This is Junho Kim, a human. We need to speak to the elders right away. It's very important." The guards looked at each other, unsure what to do. "Please," Nari said. "The safety of our entire world depends on it." One guard nodded and went inside the tent. A moment later, he returned. "The elders will see you," he said. "But the creature." "The human," Nari corrected. "The human must leave his weapons outside." Junho removed the gun from his side and handed it to the guard. "I understand, but please be careful with that." Inside the tent, 5 old Morayans sat in a half circle. Their blue skin had faded with age to a pale sky color. Their silver-flecked eyes widened when they saw Junho. In the center sat Elder Minna, the oldest and wisest of all Morayans. Her eyes studied Junho with interest. "What is this you bring before us, child?" she asked Nari. Nari stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Honored elders, this is Captain Junho Kim of the Earth Expeditionary Force." He saved my life today. Elder Minna looked at Junho. Earth, we have heard stories of your kind, but none have ever visited Morai before. Junho bowed, copying Nari's gesture of respect. I am honored to meet you, Elder. I wish it could be under better circumstances. Explain, said Elder Minna. Nari told them everything. How she overheard the Graks discussing their invasion plans, how they captured her and planned to eat her, and how Junho rescued her from certain death. The Graks planned to attack at sunset. Nari finished. During the final ceremony, when everyone is gathered in one place, the elders looked troubled. Elder Minna turned to Junho. Human, is this true? Junho nodded. Yes, Elder. My government has been tracking Grak movements. We believe they plan to add your world to their empire by force. But they came as guests, said another elder. They spoke of friendship and trade. They lied, Nari said. I heard them with my own ears. They want to take control of our defense systems so their invasion fleet can land safely. Elder Minna's face was grave. If what you say is true, we have little time. She looked outside. The first sun was low in the sky. The second sun would follow soon. Sunset is less than 2 hours away. What can we do? Asked the third elder. We are not warriors. We have no army. You have friends, Junho said. My ship is not far from here. I can call for help. Earth will not stand by while innocent people are attacked. Elder Minna studied Junho's face. Why would humans help us? What do you gain? We believe in freedom, Junho said simply. The right of all beings to choose their own path. The Graks would take that from you. We won't let that happen. A messenger rushed into the tent before Elder Minna could respond. Elders, a Grak ship has just landed at the south end of the festival grounds. Commander Dole wishes to speak with you immediately. Nari gasped. That's impossible. Commander Dole is dead. Junho shot him in the forest. The messenger looked confused. I saw him with my own eyes. Elders. He seems angry. Junho's face darkened. It must be a different commander, or perhaps I only wounded him. Elder Minna stood up. We will speak with the Graks. Perhaps we can reason with them. No, Nari cried. They don't want to talk. They want to attack. We must try peace first, Elder Minna said firmly. It is our way. Junho stepped forward. Elder, with respect, I agree with Nari. The Graks don't understand peace. They see it as weakness. Let me contact my ship. We can have Earth forces here before sunset. Elder Minna thought for a moment. Then she nodded. Do so, human. But we will still meet with the Graks. If there is even a small chance to avoid bloodshed, we must take it. Junho didn't look happy, but he nodded. I understand. May I use my communication device? It's in my suit. Elder Minna gave permission. Junho pressed some buttons on his arm. His suit made a soft beeping sound. Captain Kim to Earth Vessel Hope. Emergency situation on Morai. Requesting immediate assistance. Grak invasion force preparing to attack at sunset. Please respond. There was a moment of silence. Then a voice came from Junho's suit. Earth Vessel Hope receiving. Captain, we've been trying to reach you. We're already on our way. Ambassador Lee insisted when we lost contact with you. ETA 30 minutes. Junho smiled. That's good news. Prepare for possible combat situation. Understood, Captain. Hope out. Junho turned to Elder Minna. My people are coming. They'll be here in 30 minutes. Elder Minna nodded. Good. Now we must go meet with the Graks. She looked at Nari. Child, you should find your parents. Be safe. Nari shook her head. No, Elder. I want to help. I've seen what the Graks are planning. You need me. Elder Minna looked like she wanted to argue, but there was no time. Very well. But stay close to the human. They left the council tent and walked toward the south end of the festival. A large crowd had gathered there. In the center stood a group of Graks. At their head was a large male with a scar down one side of his face. "Commander Dole," Neri whispered in shock. "But how?" "Shunho shot him." Shunho's eyes narrowed. "He's tough. I'll give him that." Commander Dole saw them approaching. His yellow eyes fixed on Nari, then moved to Shunho. Angry hisses escaped his mouth. "You," he snarled, "the human who interfered with my hunt." Elder Minna stepped forward. "Commander Dole, we wish to speak with you about." "There is nothing to speak about." Commander Dole cut her off. "Your time is over, old one. Morai belongs to the Grak Imperium now." He pulled out his weapon and aimed it at Elder Mina. Before he could fire, Shunho moved. He pushed Elder Mina out of the way just as a beam of hot light shot past them. The crowd screamed and scattered. The other Graks pulled out their weapons too. "Run!" Shunho shouted to the Moraians. "Get to safety." Commander Dole laughed. "There is no safety. Our ships are already in orbit. At sunset, they attack." He turned to his soldiers. "Kill them all. Start with the human and the blue girl." The Graks began firing into the crowd. People ran in all directions. Shunho grabbed Nari and pulled her behind a large food stall. "We need to get to my ship's landing zone," he said. "It's our only chance." "What about my people?" Nari asked, her voice shaking. "My ship will help them, but we need to stay alive until they get here." A beam of light hit the stall, setting it on fire. They had to move. "This way," Nari said. She knew the festival grounds better than Shunho did. They ran from cover to cover, dodging Grak weapons fire. All around them, the beautiful festival was turning into chaos. Tents burned. People screamed. The Graks were attacking early, not waiting for sunset. "We need to get to higher ground," Shunho said, "so my ship can find us." Nari pointed to a hill at the edge of the festival grounds. "There." They ran toward the hill. Behind them, Commander Dole saw them and roared in anger. "After them. Don't let them escape." 3 Grak soldiers broke off from the main group and chased after Nari and Shunho. Beams of light shot past them, hitting trees and rocks. "Keep running," Shunho urged. "We're almost there." As they reached the top of the hill, Nari looked back. The festival grounds were in flames. Her beautiful home was being destroyed. Tears filled her eyes. "Look," Shunho pointed to the sky. A large ship was descending through the clouds. It was sleek and silver, much different from the sharp, angular Grak ships. On its side was a symbol, a blue circle with the word Earth written above it. "My people are here," Shunho said with a smile. "Now we fight back." The Earth ship stopped above the festival grounds. A bright light shone down from its belly. When the light faded, 20 humans stood there, wearing suits like Shunho's and carrying weapons. The Graks attacking Nari, and Shunho stopped. They looked at the new arrivals with surprise and fear. For the first time since this all began, Nari felt hope. The humans had come. The real fight was about to begin. The 3 Graks chasing Nari and Shunho stopped in their tracks. They looked down at the 20 human soldiers who had just appeared. For a moment, no one moved. Then one of the Graks fired at the humans. The shot missed, hitting the ground near the humans' feet. That was all it took. The humans raised their weapons and fired back. Blue beams shot through the air. 2 of the Graks fell immediately. The third turned and ran. "Come on," Shunho said to Nari. "Let's join my people." They ran down the hill toward the human soldiers. As they got closer, Nari saw that one of the humans was different from the others. This one wore no battle suit, but instead had on a long blue coat with silver designs. "Captain Kim," called the human in the blue coat. "Glad to see you're still in one piece." "Ambassador Lee," Shunho replied with a quick bow. "You're just in time." Ambassador Lee looked at Nari with kind eyes. "And who is your friend?" "This is Nari," Shunho said. "She discovered the Grak invasion plan and helped me warn her people. Without her, we might have been too late." Ambassador Lee bowed to Nari. Thank you, Nari. Earth owes you a debt. Nari wasn't sure what to say. She had never been thanked by an important person before. Before she could respond, more shots came from the direction of the festival grounds. Commander Dole and his soldiers were advancing toward them. We need to get to safety, Ambassador Lee said. Where are the Morayan leaders? The elders were at the festival when the Graks attacked, Nari said. I don't know if they got away. Ambassador Lee turned to one of the human soldiers. Lieutenant Park, take a team and find the Morayan elders. Get them to safety. Yes, Ambassador. Lieutenant Park and 5 other humans moved quickly toward the burning festival. Ambassador Lee looked up at the sky. More Grak ships were appearing, breaking through the clouds. Captain Kim, what's our situation? Chunho's face was serious. Not good, Ambassador. The Graks plan to attack at sunset, but they started early. They want to take control of the planetary defense station. If they succeed, their main fleet can land without resistance. Then we must stop them from taking the defense station, Ambassador Lee said. Where is it? Nari pointed to a tall building on a hill beyond the festival grounds. There, the Crystal Tower. It controls all our defenses. Ambassador Lee spoke into a small device on her wrist. Captain Song, you read me? A voice came back. Loud and clear, Ambassador. We need air support at these coordinates, and prepare to defend a structure called the Crystal Tower. It's the planetary defense center. On our way, Captain Song replied. Within moments, 3 smaller ships detached from the main Earth vessel. They zoomed toward the Crystal Tower, their engines making a high whistling sound. Commander Dole saw this and roared in anger. No, the tower is ours. He pointed at the approaching human ships. Shoot them down. The Graks fired at the human ships, but they were too fast. They dodged the shots and kept going toward the tower. We need to help them, Junho said. Ambassador, with your permission, I'd like to take a team to the tower. Ambassador Lee nodded. Go. We'll handle things here. Junho turned to Nari. You should stay with the ambassador. It's safer. Nari shook her head. No, I'm coming with you. I know the tower. I can help. Junho looked like he wanted to argue, but there was no time. All right, but stay close. Junho, Nari, and 8 human soldiers set off toward the Crystal Tower. As they ran, the battle grew around them. More Grak ships landed, bringing more soldiers, but more human ships arrived too. The sky filled with ships from both sides. They fired at each other, lighting up the darkening sky. The first sun had set completely now. The second sun was low on the horizon. True sunset was approaching. When they reached the base of the Crystal Tower, they found 5 Grak soldiers trying to break down the main door. Stop right there, Junho called out. The Graks turned and fired at them. The humans fired back. Blue light met red in the air. The Graks fell one by one. That was too easy, one of the human soldiers said. As if to prove him wrong, a large Grak ship appeared above them. It opened fire, forcing them to take cover behind some large rocks. We need to get inside the tower, Junho shouted over the noise. Nari pointed to a small door on the side of the building. There, it's a service entrance. My friend's father works here. He showed me once. They ran to the door, dodging fire from the Grak ship. Inside, the tower was cool and quiet. Crystal walls glowed with soft light. The control room is at the top, Nari said. They took the lift to the highest floor. When the doors opened, they found themselves facing 10 Grak soldiers. In the center of the room stood Commander Dole. You are too late, human, he snarled at Junho. The defense codes are already ours. Our main fleet approaches even now. Behind him, a large screen showed hundreds of Grak warships moving toward Morai. Junho stepped forward. It's never too late, Commander. Commander Dole laughed. 1 human, a handful of soldiers, and a little blue girl against all of us. You have courage. I'll give you that. He raised his weapon. But courage won't save you. Before he could fire, the building shook. Outside, human ships were attacking the Grak vessels. In that moment of distraction, Junho and his soldiers attacked. Blue beams filled the room. Graks fell to the floor, but there were many of them, and they fought back hard. Nari ducked behind a control panel. She watched as Junho fought Commander Dole hand to hand. The Grak was bigger and stronger, but Junho was faster. Commander Dole knocked Junho down and stood over him, ready to finish him off. Nari had to do something. She looked around and saw a heavy crystal paperweight on the desk. She grabbed it and threw it as hard as she could. The crystal hit Commander Dole on the back of the head. He stumbled forward, surprised. That gave Junho the moment he needed. He kicked upward, knocking the Grak backward. Then he jumped to his feet and fired his weapon. Commander Dole fell to the floor and didn't move again. The remaining Graks looked at their fallen leader, then at the humans. They dropped their weapons and raised their hands. Smart move, Junho said. One of the human soldiers went to the main control panel. Captain, we need to activate the planetary defenses against the Grak fleet. Junho looked at Nari. Do you know how it works? Nari shook her head. No, only the defense minister knows the codes. As if on cue, the lift doors opened again. Elder Minna walked in, followed by Lieutenant Park and a tall Morayan man wearing an official uniform. Defense Minister Tay, Nari said with relief. Minister Tai went straight to the control panel. His blue fingers flew over the crystal keys. The screen changed, showing the defensive shield activating around the planet. The shield is up, he announced. The Grak ships cannot land now. On the screen, they watched as the Grak fleet hit the invisible shield. Some ships turned away. Others tried to break through and exploded in bright flashes. We've won, Junho said with a smile. Elder Minna walked to the window and looked out at the battle. No, young human, we have survived. That is not the same as winning. Junho nodded. You're right, Elder. The Graks will be back one day. And when they come, Elder Minna said, turning to face him, will Earth stand with us again? We will, Junho promised. That's what humans do. We stand with our friends. 3 days later, Nari stood with her parents at the new human embassy on Morai. The Earth ship Hope floated in the sky above them. Most of the humans were leaving today, going back to their own world. But some would stay to help rebuild and to strengthen the new friendship between Earth and Morai. Junho found Nari in the crowd. There you are. I was hoping to say goodbye before I left. You're going back to Earth? Nari asked, trying not to sound too sad. For now, but I'll be back. He smiled. Ambassador Lee has asked me to be part of the permanent security team here. Nari's face lit up. Really? You're coming back? Try and stop me, Junho laughed. Besides, I have a feeling the Graks aren't done with this sector yet. Morai might need a friend or two. Is that why humans helped us? Nari asked. Because you want to be our friends. Junho thought for a moment. We helped because it was the right thing to do. That's what makes humans different from Graks. We protect those who need protection. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves. He smiled. And yes, we value friendship over conquest. Always. As the Earth ship prepared to leave, Nari watched with new hope in her heart. The stars she had always dreamed about didn't seem so far away anymore, and the beings who lived among them weren't all like the Graks. Some of them were like Junho, like humans, and that made all the difference.